Hello, my name is John Cassier. I had the pleasure to be your host for this podcast. This week, I'm delighted to have a good friend of mine who I've known for a long time now, is Ash, and he's going to talk about how he's been using NLP in his everyday life. Hi, Ash. How are you doing?
Hey, John, how are you? I'm good, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So you've been involved in NLP now for how many years?
It's coming up to 8 years now, just over 8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
Wow.
I've known you for 8 years.
Yes, yes, that's incredible. So what first got you interested in NLP?
Right. Goes way back into almost in year 2000. One of my friends was talking about NLP, being the next MBA at that time.
Right.
And I did some reading on it, and of course at that time we didn't have all these social media, so did some reading and research, and I found out that yes, it was becoming much, very mainstream, and he was right that it was becoming like an MBA. And then he went on to do an NLP course with you, and he
Ah,
recommended you, and that's how I came to your course.
excellent. Uh,
So
the
yeah, and
MBA, so is he applying it in the business sense? Is that where your intention was to take it into business?
Yes, because I did a master's as well, and and I did a part of an MBA, but it was very much more academic, and there was not much involvement in terms of negotiations or understanding. It was very much theoretical driven. And there was not much more on the influence side, or or your capabilities of your confidence. It was mainly, yeah, you get an MBA, and and that should be it. But so I found NLP to be more personal, more in depth. Okay, you have those subjects from a master's degree or whatever, but when it comes to the relationships, or negotiations, or understanding, what's going on, you need to have a little bit more self-awareness, and I think that's the point. MBA doesn't, or any of those courses doesn't teach you about self-awareness. How to get in touch with what's happening, and be more self-aware of what you're doing. you know and uh, and I think that's what attracted me to NLP.
Yes, I think sometimes because the MBAs is a fabulous thing to do, and
Absolutely,
I'm
yes.
sure you'd recommend it.
Yeah.
And what NLP brings to the table, and I think it brings to the table in a lot of different areas, is how to apply that. So starting with yourself, looking after yourself, how you think, how you process that information, and then how you utilize it. Would that be?
That's exactly right. I mean, you got that knowledge, and now it's about how do you process that knowledge, and how do you use it in the real world. I mean, you can be, how to negotiate, but it doesn't mean that you go and negotiate with the theory. You need to have a little bit of that relationship, like we in NLP we learned how to understand, listen out to the words that the other person will use, the subtle body language, and that's where, so you can use that, what you learn from that, and use the NLP techniques in order to enhance the whole experience.
So I know it's been over 8 years now, but
Yeah.
thinking back to those early days, what is it that you really, one technique that you took away from the NLP training that really made a difference?
I think it was a self-awareness and to be self-confident. I mean, when I came to see you, or when I came to your first course, I mean, I wasn't a very confident person. And I had no idea of, I wasn't self-aware. I didn't know, when I used to speak to people or negotiate, I had no, I was not aware of what's going on. It was just me talking about everything that I had to talk about. And I wasn't a great listener either. So I think that the biggest thing that I took away from NLP was self-awareness and learning to listen and um, understand and observe the other person's languages, or the words they speak, and their body language, in order to have a better relationship. I think that's the key thing.
Yes. And there's a lot that goes into becoming confident in those areas. One is knowing the skills, the other is that self-awareness you're talking about, and also being interested in other people. And I know you've helped people with confidence over the years. So if somebody's listening to this, they think they're in that similar situation, what could you suggest that would help them become more confident?
Um, I think to help me more confident is to think. it's about the way I did it was I did anchor myself to it. Right. So I used to go to the gym a lot, and after the gym, you feel really great and you feel really confident. You feel that energy, right? So
Yes.
I anchored that. What I did, I anchored that, on my wrist. And whenever I was going out for a meeting, or whenever I felt that, I felt that I wasn't confident, I used to, press the anchor, you know, and that, triggered that feeling, and, that energy. And as then started, I began to become aware of that energy, or that feeling, that self-confidence. And then I kept on, practice. It was hard, it's not easy. You got to constantly be aware. You got to be aware to do that.
Yes.
And so that's how I got, self-confident. And also I taught myself to be fearless, something that I thought was, to move away from shyness, be fearless, not to think about what another person would think, to ignore about other people's opinion of you. That's the key. That, to previous, I always thought, what will they think about, if I ask a question, will they think it was a silly question, or what would the others think? But I taught myself, being self-aware, to ignore what the other person would think if I had to ask a question. So I taught myself to be fearless in many ways.
Yes. Oh, excellent, excellent. So you started off with that anchoring, and you took that feeling from going from the gym to negotiations and into the workplace.
Yeah, so the feeling after the gym session was that you're confident. And I mean, anyone who goes to the gym will understand that. You feel really confident after a gym session. You're all pumped up. And that's basically it. I mean, confidence is all about pumped up, and being, feeling good.
Yes.
Feeling good about yourself. That's confidence.
And what I like
Right.
about that example is you've taken it from one area, which is the gym, into the workplace and into your everyday life. And then it sounded like it started to evolve. So the more you used it, the more you then moved into this kind of fearless state.
Yes, it did. And over time, I didn't have to use the anchor anymore, because I was getting aware of it. And I was, when I went into even if I met someone, suddenly that kicked in, that energy kicked in, or that feeling kicked in. So I didn't have to anchor myself. And, the the barrier started reducing. Now I can, go and talk to anyone. I mean, networking was a good example. I would, be, like, quite frightened about going and networking, but now I can go up to and talk to anybody, because I constantly told myself, I got to be fearless. I got to get out, go and talk to them. It doesn't matter what they think of me, at least I go on and done it. So, and yes, so the anchoring faded off after a while, because more you do it, the more you practiced it, it just naturally became confident.
It becomes part of you.
Becomes part of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just to be clear, I know you're passionate about helping people. You're very giving. So when you're saying fearless and you're not concerned about what somebody else is thinking, it's them thinking down about what you're saying, being concerned. So you still care, and you're still fearless at the same time.
Yeah, when I say I don't care what other people, it doesn't mean that it's being in a very rude manner, not in
No.
that sense. It's just that being fearless, in, like, be able to say what you think is right,
Yes.
and of course listen to their opinion or their feedback. That's important. What I'm saying is not, bottling it up and not speaking out, thinking that the other person might think, if it's a question, it's a silly question, or other person might, whoever it is, might think that's not a valid point. That's what I mean. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, it doesn't mean that you go and be rude, or just like say anything to hurt anybody's feelings. It's not about that.
No,
You got to be
definitely
aware
not.
about the other person's feelings as well, and the situation.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, just you're fearless means like you're ready to talk about anything,
Yes.
and you don't hold back in the sense of thinking that the other person's perception of you might change. That's what I mean.
Excellent. So building on that theme, there's probably a lot of people who know that they should be networking for whatever reason. And like yourself in your early days, were very sort of nervous and shy about doing that. So could you walk us through, and I know you probably do this unconsciously now, it's just part of what you do, is when you're at a networking meeting and you see somebody you want to go and talk to, how do you prepare yourself? How do you know what you're going to say?
I always start with a smile. I go down and smile. I mean, the smile. That's another thing I learned. with people and through NLP as well. Break down barriers. The quickest way it's a smile, and I think everyone talks about it. And I approach it, and I never go and ask. The way I approach is that I don't go and ask them, so what do you do? I think
Right.
that puts a barrier straight away. Like, why? I would just go and open up a conversation with with the ambience of the place, or the location, or some event that happened, in the context. I would always open with that, rather, because I find it as well, when people come and ask me that, so what do you do? Suddenly, subconsciously, it kind of puts you into a small, like a box,
Yes.
if you know what I mean. So I always walk up to people with a smile, and ask, and try to diffuse the tension, or my own anxiety. I mean, that's the thing. I diffuse my own anxiety by smiling. The moment you smile, the anxiety just drops down a little bit.
Yes.
And then when the other person smiles, that breaks down the barrier. And then I start off talking about something unrelevant to their personal, and then get into after a few couple of seconds or minutes of having a conversation, then I get into the thing. So what do they do, or what line of business they are in.
Yes.
So I think that's very important. You just don't go straight away and say, like, because if someone comes and asks you, so what do you do, and I think instantly we all think, oh, they want something from us straight away.
And even though we know at a networking meeting, everyone's there because they want to network, they want to build their, their
Yes.
business, whatever they're doing. But at the
Yes.
same time, I think what like you pointed out, what sometimes make people nervous is that they feel like they're being put into this box, and that they have preconceived ideas if they say, oh, I'm a coach, or I'm an accountant, those types of things. And yet your approach is to go, hello, human being. Can I connect
Exactly.
first?
Exactly. And I think that's very important. Everyone knows that networking is there, then everyone's coming to network and promote any of their products or their services. I mean, it's a given. So you don't need to start with that. When you meet someone for the first time, you don't have to start with that. You got to make a connection.
Yes. Excellent. So how have you been using NLP recently? Now that you've been involved in NLP for, like we said, over 8 years now, the way that you've used NLP, I guess, has evolved and changed. So
Yes, it has. I do a lot of selling now. I have a used car dealership, is as part of one of my businesses. So it's very how I use NLP now is about observing when someone comes to talk to me about anything. I mean, if it's a customer who comes to buy a vehicle, listening to what they, rather than me trying to sell something that they don't need, or it's not part of how they perceive, is to, the way I've learned NLP, and I'm using NLP now, is to understand what they want, listen to them, those little key words that they use, and also to see, or to identify what exactly is the reason that they want to do a deal. So
right.
I think in NLP we talk about trying to understand the map of their mind,
Yes.
and I think I use something similar to that,
Excellent.
to understand, so that, and then I find that it's easier to conclude a sale when you have that information. So that's what I do all the time now. I'm constantly, of course, I'm constant. NLP is a constant learning program. You never can say I'm an expert in NLP. No,
Yes.
you constantly. I mean, I read your or I watch your podcast, and read your newsletters every day, or every time you send, and you learn
Oh,
something
thank you.
new every time, and you got to keep practicing it, because you can't. NLP is something that you just think, oh, I mastered it, and then you forget.
Yes.
You can't. Right.
So you're starting off again in a very human way in sales, because sometimes do you find that people are nervous talking to you because you're a salesperson and they're going in to buy a major purchase in their life, which is a car? Do they have preconceived ideas of you as a salesperson, do you find?
Oh yes, very much. Especially for a used car dealership,
Yes.
they have very much
I
preconceived.
was kind of edging my way around that bit.
Yeah, very much preconceived. I mean, when people come in, they have that conception, like, oh, it's a used car dealership, it's going to be a hard sell, and something's going to be given to them. So NLP has helped me to diffuse that situation straight away. So when they come, it's just another. I look at it, it's a guest who's coming. It's a guest. It's not a customer, right?
Nice language.
And then and from there onwards, you give them the space that they need. So I'll give an example. If someone comes to look at a car, all we do is meet them, greet them, open and give them the space to look around. Nobody hangs around or hovers around them, trying to sell something that they don't need to hear, right? And once they've had a look around, and then we start the conversation about what exactly they need, and what is the requirement. So some might say, I had my car was written off, and I need something, So you listen to what exactly do they need, there are loads of choices, but you don't have to. So we don't just, or at least in our case, we don't just go and say, take that, that's the best for you. No, we listen to see what exactly do they need. So it's it is. So try to I think the biggest challenge is to diffuse that preconception when they walk into the showroom.
Right, because I think sometimes even you put the preconceived ideas of NLP and sales together, sometimes people think that there's a bag of tricks you use to get somebody to buy something. Has that been in your experience?
Yes, it can come across like that. So you got to be, you have, again, it comes down to authenticity as well. In NLP, authenticity matters as well. You will very quickly know that someone's trying to use some kind of influence tricks on you, which is not genuine.
Right.
So I think, and I've had it, I've tried it a couple of times myself, honestly, to see how it works, and it doesn't work. And I've had people, constantly, when you go to any shop, it happens, right? But I think authenticity comes into a key part of NLP as well. And if you can project that, and then, like I said, authenticity is about, how you treat, how you acknowledge that person. It's not, like I said, we acknowledge as a guest rather than a customer. Guest first, customer second.
Yes. Okay, so what I hear you saying then, I think, is that you go, there are tricks that you can use, and you've had a go at them, but you maybe get short-term results from those. And what you found best is to build rapport with somebody so that you have an authentic relationship with them. And from a sales perspective, that makes all the difference.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And rapport is very, very important. Again, rapport, rapport is, again, you don't try to start mirroring and matching them straight away as soon as they walk into the showroom. Yes. That's not being authentic.
No.
That's not being authentic. So I think it's all about, it's all about the understanding and, and being aware of their presence and being aware of what exactly is, to their, their language and their body language, what exactly, because like I said, when they walk in, they're very much closed up because they walk into, this is going to be another, one of those, places where I'm going to get sold something. So you've got to quickly diffuse that and make them welcome.
Excellent. So it sounds like the way that you've used NLP has evolved over the years, and it's much more natural to what you do in everyday life.
It's becoming natural. I won't say it's becoming natural. Like, you got to keep, working on the NLP techniques to do that.
Excellent. And if somebody was thinking of maybe getting involved in NLP or taking some formal training, what advice would you give them?
I would say that probably is the best starting point in order to grow from where you are. I mean, anyone can start NLP at any point in their life. It can be even a top Fortune 500 CEO. Anybody can start NLP wherever, because it's only going to enhance the level of where you are, and it's going to enhance your personality, your management styles, your personal life, your business life. It's going to enhance everything. And I think anybody who wants to do NLP or thinking NLP, I think that's probably the best education they can give themselves. And I'm not saying it because I've done it NLP, but I think it in terms of some kind of spirituality. NLP has some kind of spirituality. It's actually it's funny. NLP is looked as, it should be looked at as a whole. Spirituality, mindfulness, and the psychology. It comes all together. Actually, NLPs. It's in one package.
Right. So you're looking at the complete person rather than aspects of them.
Yes. I mean, if someone's trying to NLP, and they should not look at it just because they want to start a business or improve the business. You have to look at that improving yourself as well, and improving yourself first is the key to being successful in business. Right. And in relationships.
And that's one of the things I found with the pleasure of working with thousands of people over the years, is that they'll come from, they come in for their business, they're coming for some change, maybe to deal with their children for various different reasons. And they find that all areas of their lives improves. So we've covered quite a lot. We've covered sort of kind of the business side, networking, sales, etc. And you mentioned a bit about spirituality. So just before we kind of bring this to a close, just what do you mean by spiritual within the context of NLP? Just fascinated by that context from everything else we've been talking about, which is kind of like the business side of things.
Yeah, it comes down to the self-awareness I was talking to you about. It helps you to focus on what you need to do. Visualize or have a vision. Say, okay, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, right? And it helps you to plan that very nicely. Take action. One thing that I forgot, NLP is all about taking action. You have to take action. You can have all the dreams you want. You can write everything down on a piece of paper, what you want to do, whether it's in business or personal. But if you don't take action, it doesn't work. And for me, NLP is whenever I am self-aware of myself or about a situation, it's like mindfulness. It brings a little bit of spirituality into it. Saying that you come to the present moment. NLP brings you into the present moment in many cases. Say if you walk in to talk to me now, if you meet on the road, right? Me by understanding and acknowledging you, and then listening to what you're saying, or looking at how you react, is kind of being present, being in the present moment. And it's not an NLP that's you're acknowledging that person, saying you're constantly focused on that, being present with that person and what he or she is saying.
Yes.
And that has some kind of spirituality as well, because you are being true to that moment rather than being distracted about thinking about other things. So that's
excellent, because that sounds like what, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're bringing something bigger to life than a goal. So when you say in spirituality and vision, they often refer to something bigger than just the transaction, bigger than just the relationship there. It's something to do with making a difference in the world.
It is, yes. I mean, because it gets you to think about, what's about the others, what else can you do for, what can you contribute? I mean, that's where the spirituality comes in, like NLP, you can contribute a lot in many ways. You don't have to be an NLP, professional to help someone who's got a little bit of, problems that, you might, by just talking to them, listening to them, or guiding them through, so NLP helps you in many ways to, contribute and give back as well. That's where spirituality. I mean, spirituality is not it's not about religion in mainly.
No.
It's about everything around it. I mean, what you do and how you help others, and how you treat people. And all that comes in when you can understand yourself. And when you are self-aware about yourself and your feelings and your thoughts, and you have a clear mind, you got clarity. You need to have clarity to have that kind of perception and and that attitude.
Excellent. That sounds a good way to buy a used car. Thank you, Ash.
You're welcome.
You really shared a lot. We've gone through quite a journey from starting off on an MBA and sort of lack of confidence, and building that through to applying NLP to negotiations, and the selling the cars, and then to bring that into spirituality. And this is a start of a series of talks that I'm really keen to do about NLP in everyday life. So people who've had some NLP training and been involved in NLP for years, what are they doing with it? So Thank you for sharing that.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. And I look forward to listening to other podcasts that you have with your other NLP practitioners.
Excellent. So if you've got any comments, or you know somebody who would be ideal to be interviewed about how they've been using their NLP, that'd be great. So contact me at john@nlpcourses.com, and we'll talk next week. All the best. See you soon.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Ash.
Bye.